I want to ask you, knowing that it's going to take a minute for some of that material to get there, what it means now for morale in the battlefield.
It's huge. It's enormous. So this is an 8-month delay. And when I look online and when I talk to Ukrainians, they are so happy. Yes, they want to know why it took so long, but they are preparing a celebratory meal when President Biden finally signs that law into passage. And individual soldiers are making videos and celebrating this moment. So it will be felt on the battlefield. And I agree with the general. This package will allow the Ukrainians a little bit of breathing room for the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, Melinda, I feel like I've been asking this question in various ways since it became clear that this ultimately was going to pass. Is this aid that is going to allow Ukraine to keep the status quo, essentially, in terms of just being able to hold the line? Or is this aid that is actually going to allow Ukraine to potentially advance in some kind of counteroffensive? What realistically are we talking about here?
Hey, Kailey. So it's going to enable the Ukrainians to hold the line. Without the aid, the line probably would have fallen. So this is a really big deal. Kharkiv was vulnerable, and also the Donbass was vulnerable. So it's going to enable the Ukrainians to hold the line for the rest of 2024. And the hope is that it will, after the rotation of Ukrainian forces, that the Ukrainian side will be able to prepare some kind of major counteroffensive in 25.
A major counteroffensive. It's interesting, Melinda, we spoke about this with Kailey Grieco, Senior Fellow with the Reimagining U.S. Grand Strategy Program at the Stimson Center. I'd love for you to listen to what she said, and we'll have you respond.
We need to start thinking really seriously about long-term strategy here and pivoting from a talk about liberating all Ukrainian territory and militarily defeating Russia to how do we create a credible, sustainable defense for Ukraine, because this is a war of attrition and it's stalemated, and bringing it to the negotiating table.
I don't know if you want to have that conversation right now, Melinda, or if you think it's time for that conversation, but we're hearing more and more people talk to us at Bloomberg about how to leverage this money to strengthen Ukraine's position at the negotiating table, as opposed to punching through Russian lines and staging a counteroffensive. What do you think?
Hey, Joe, I would say it's way too soon. I would say no, no, no. So if you look at Ukrainian public opinion, 60% of Ukrainians say they want to continue to fight. There is not an appetite for negotiations in Moscow or in Kiev. So this money provides breathing room for the Ukrainians to reconstitute their forces, to rotate, and then to hold the line for the rest of the year. We know that Russia's preparing some kind of major offensive this summer. So it's not going to be an easy year. I'm not predicting roses. Let's be realistic. But this is a long war, and there's no reason to talk about negotiations at this point. There's no appetite for it on either side.
Well, Melinda, it kind of brings us back to the point that there is another side of this, and that, of course, is Russia. That is who Ukraine is fighting against. And I just wonder how you think Russian behavior may change, knowing that more aid is coming to Ukraine, that they're going to have access to more than they would have otherwise. Does it actually make it a harder fight to fight for Ukraine?
Kailey, Moscow is not pleased. So if you look at the Russian newspapers today, they're denouncing Speaker Johnson. They are calling him a traitor. They are upset that he has changed his tune. Will it be harder? Well, look, the Russians are preparing a big fight for this summer. But no, the arms that we're seeing right now, the U.S. has done something very smart. It pre-positioned aid in Poland and in Europe. So as soon as President Biden signs that law and it passes, it means that ammo is going to flow to the front lines. And that is a big deal. It's going to make the fight easier for the Ukrainians and going to ease the rationing we've seen. We've seen 10 to 1, 8 to 1, 7 to 1, depending where the guys are on the front line. And it's going to give them a chance to actually fire back.
Melinda, Kailey and I have been asking the same question of everyone with your experience on this story. Is this the last aid package for Ukraine?
Joe, it really depends on the choice that Americans make this fall at the ballot box. So I don't know the answer to that question. If President Trump is elected as president, yes. If Biden is reelected, no. So it really depends on the choice that Americans have to make. Is it possible to squeeze another Ukraine aid package if Trump is reelected? Maybe. But this one was so hard fought. It took miracles to pass this aid. We could do a whole show on what it took to pass this aid. So I think it's unlikely to see another aid package on Trump's watch unless he had some major change of heart, and I don't foresee that.